Welcome back to another video today, guys. Just a real quick one talking about rod selection for river Murray cod. What I like to use, I've got 3 combos there I'm going to go through and just give you guys an idea of why I like to use them. It's probably one of the most consistent questions I get asked on the socials is what rod and reel should I buy for fishing for Murray cod on the river. So this is what I like to use. Hopefully it can help a lot of you guys out, people that are looking to get into some new stuff or just getting into Murray cod fishing for the first time. This might be beneficial for you. I will start by saying I am supported by Dawa, so all the stuff I use is Dawa related, rods and reels, but I'll give you a good idea of the weights and lengths, and then you can use that to whatever brand you want. It doesn't matter. I like to use a Dawa gear. I've used it for basically ever. I can rely on it, really like the product, but that's not saying every other brand is good as well. So take what I tell you and go use it. If you're a Shimano guy or an Abu Garcia guy or whatever, use these weights and lengths and that and cross over to those brands if that's what you want to do. Anyway, I'm going to start by saying I fish pretty open rivers where I am in New South Wales. Now everybody's going to be in a different situation depending on where you fish, and you've got to basically look at that and then work back from there. So if you're fishing a really small creek river system that is very overgrown on the edges, it might not be beneficial to go a rod that's a bit longer. You might want to stick with rods around that 6 foot range, or even smaller. Like back in the day, 5'6" was kind of like the go for the Murray cod rods. These days, with the evolution of bigger lures like swim baits and that, we're starting to use a lot longer rods, and I personally like to use longer rods. But if you are in an area that's only small water, you don't have to cast far, and it's very overgrown around you, so you don't have that leverage to be able to really swing a long rod, you might want to go a shorter rod. So for me, I don't have to worry about that because the rivers that I generally fish are pretty open, so I can use a longer rod and I can get away with it by sort of manipulating the casts that I do. But if you are in a small river, then you might want to go smaller. And also if you're in a kayak or fishing out of a small tinny or something in the rivers, then you might want to go smaller as well. But for now, I'm going to talk about what I like to use, and that's a little bit longer. So with reels, you've got a heap of different sizes. Like I use the Tatula range. I think there's 70, 100, 150, 200, 300, 400 in the range. So there's a lot of sizes, but as a basic rule for Murray cod, I like to stick to my 200s and 300s. So for my smaller rods, smaller work, smaller lures, I like to use the 200s, and then when I go to the bigger stuff, I like to use the 300 on the heavier rods, big lures like swim baits and that. So you can use 100. When I first started out using cod fishing, I used a 100 size reel on a lighter rod, and that was just for throwing little top waters like Jakko pompadours, 1/2 ounce, 5/8 of an ounce spinnerbaits. Worked really well, but now I'm starting to throw bigger stuff, target bigger fish. I like the benefit of having that bit bigger reel. Now, the benefit of a bigger reel, there's a few of them. Firstly, they have stronger gearing and drag. So the bigger your lure, the more resistance it's going to create in the water. So you want a stronger gearing system to make that lure come through the water easier. And the other thing is the drag. With a bigger reel, you'll have more kilos of drag pressure you can apply, and it's also smoother at that upper end of the drag. So if you've got a small reel and you've got it cranked right up, when you try and pull that line off, it'll be sort of really jagged. Whereas if you get a bigger reel with more drag, you can it'll come off a lot smoother even at those higher pressures. Those gears also create more torque in the reel. So again, when you're using bigger lures, the more torque you got in the reel, the easier it's gonna be able to pull that lure through the water. So if you're using a light reel with a massive lure that's coming through the water, you'll feel it really, really struggling. But once you start using a bigger reel to fish a heavy lure or a big lure that's taking up a big presence in the water, it's actually a lot smoother. The last thing with the reel, with the bigger the reel, matching a bigger rod, is it actually fits the weight of it and the feel of it on a bigger rod matches better. So if you're using a really small rod, you don't want to have a big reel because it won't be balanced, and it'll feel like you got a really, really heavy down the butt with a big reel and doesn't match a rod. Like vice versa with the heavy rod. If you've got a big rod for throwing swim baits and then you've got it matched with a 100 reel, it's just not going to feel right. So the first rod I've got here that I use pretty much all summer and autumn and even into winter is the Dawa TD Black Duck Fin model. So it's a 7-foot rod. It cast weight is 15 to 70 grams and line 8 to 15 kilos. So 15 to 70 grams, you can pretty much do the majority of spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, soft plastics, smaller top waters, hard bodies in that range. It's a very, very good all-round size. So 8 to 15 kilo, 15 to 70 gram, 7 foot. I like the 7 foot, and I've got that matched up with Dawa Tatula 200 HD. That's got 40-pound braid on it, and I generally fish that with a 40-pound leader. So this is my all-round go-to combo for most baits. As you can see there, I've got it rigged with that's a 6-inch Huddleston swim bait on there. Absolutely perfect for that type of stuff. So you can do a lot of stuff with that. Love the rod. Caught a lot of fish on this rod over the years. This is actually one of the older models of the TD Black. So there is a new TD Black model out in the duck fin as well. So check them out if you're looking for a great all-rounder. Next one I fish is kind of an in-betweener between my sort of lighter stick, which is the duck fin, and my heavier stick. And this is a Tatula Rod with the cork grip there. It is the 6'9" swim bait rod. Cast weight max 220 grams, line 15 to 24 kilos. So this is only a 6'9". It's actually a little bit shorter than the other one, but it can cast up to 220 grams. That's what it's recommended. Personally, I don't think you don't want to be casting 220 grams on it, but anywhere after sort of that 150 is this rod's sweet spot. It can still do all the lighter stuff, but it can do a bit bigger stuff than what that other TD Black Duck Fin rod can do. So if you're looking for a good in-between rod, this is like, I don't use this one as much, but if I'm gonna be down the river and I really wanna throw a mix of big stuff and also smaller stuff, then this is the rod I'll throw. Generally, I'll go either the lighter or the heavier, but sometimes, especially in that transition phase around autumn, when I don't know what I'm gonna be throwing when I go down there, I could be throwing a 10-inch swim bait, or I could be throwing a little 6-inch plastic. This is the rod I'll go for there. And with that Tatula rod, you can match it up with a 200 or 300 size reel. It does work with both. Again, try and pick what you're gonna do. I'm gonna really focus on the bigger lures with that rod, or I think I'm gonna throw more bigger stuff, then I will go the 300, but it is just as capable with a 200 on it. So it's a real good in-between of that stick. Now the last one that I got is for my bigger river fishing. So this is the TD Black Mother, which is the heaviest in the range. It is a swim bait rod as well, and it's 7'9", so it's really long, especially for the rivers when you're on foot. But I just like that. I do like that length, especially if you're throwing the bigger stuff. You can't really beat length for when you're throwing big lures. If you try and throw a 200-gram swim bait on a shorter rod, it just doesn't really feel right. You really want to be over that 7.5 foot range, personally, I believe. So this one's a 7'9". It is definitely a little bit tough when you're in tight areas. You do sort of have to manipulate your cast and whatnot, but it just casts, when you sort of get it to that open stuff, it casts those bigger baits so much easier. So this is cast max 300 grams. So I throw stuff like DRT Frenzies, Ghosts, any of the biggest swim bait stuff that I've got, I throw on this rod here, and it does it with ease. It's actually really, really good rod and handles those bigger baits really well. So I haven't found a swim bait yet, I haven't thrown a swim bait yet that is too big for this rod. Now I've got that matched up with a 300, Tatula 300, and that's with 70-pound braid, and I generally fish that with a 50 or 60-pound leader. So that 300 on that rod, it's just a match made in heaven. I absolutely love it. I do have a 400 size reel. The 400's good, but the 300 just fits in the palm of the hand a lot better personally for me. Now, I don't have big hands, I don't have big anything, but for me with the smaller hands, the 300 just feels so much better in the hand, where when you get the 400, the spool's a lot wider, so you want to have big hands to sort of hold it properly. It can be handy if you're fishing dams in the middle of winter and you've got big gloves on. The 400 can be an advantage there because you've actually got more to sort of grip onto with the big gloves. But yeah, personally, that rod with a 300, absolutely beautiful. Right, that's pretty much it. I just want to give you a quick rundown on the 3 rods that I like to use and the reels that I like to use for my cod fishing. Now, there is plenty of options out there. Go down to your local stores and have a feel. That's the best advice I can give. Have a feel and try and find what would suit you. But what I always would advise is to stick on the higher side. Like, try and get a combo that's you think's a little bit heavier than what you need. Don't go lighter, because as you progress in Murray cod fishing, you'll eventually start throwing bigger and bigger lures. It's just inevitable. And that in turn means you'll want a heavier rod and a heavier reel. So if you're thinking about getting a light one, maybe just have a feel of that next one up, the next rod up or the next reel up, and see what you reckon, because there's nothing worse than buying something that's light and then all of a sudden 6 months down the track you want to start throwing big lures and that rod just can't handle it. So always think about it. But yeah, the best advice is go down and have a feel to your local tackle shops and see what they got. Have a feel for yourself and then make the decision from there. Anyway, hope that helps a few people out. I know I get a lot of questions about it, so hopefully it does. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.